Just when it sure seemed like the tides have turned for Tesla stock, we again see a pullback as a few analysts are now saying they don't see a catalyst in the near term. Today, we'll discuss all the tailwinds helping both Tesla's business and Tesla stock, from the macro and chances of interest rate cuts, the Robotaxi event, progress in China, progress in energy, even Tesla Semi, and of course, the upcoming new vehicles. I've got Randy Kirk with me today. Randy is a multi-entrepreneur. He runs a product manufacturing business. He's also written 2 books on Tesla, the Elon Musk Mission and the Elon Musk Method. You can check out his YouTube channel, Randy Kirk. Thank you, Randy. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I thought the earnings call was amazing. As usual, actually, I'm always encouraged after the earnings calls, but I thought yesterday's was particularly exciting.
Okay, well, let's cover that because I think in general, most of us bulls did like it. There was obviously some analysts who are saying that, I don't see any near-term catalyst. Oh my God, the auto gross margin was a complete miss. But as we go down this list, there's quite a things that are good about it. So go ahead and give me, your first reaction to the earnings. What is it about it that you liked about the quarter?
Well, I think that it confirmed a lot of things. So there were either confirmed and or gave us new information that we just weren't aware of. I mean, I'm not sure how much people are talking about this, but Elon let it slip. I don't know if he let it slip, but his intimation was that with the Shanghai megafactory making the megapacks over there, that's maybe going to be double the size of Lathrop, or maybe they're going to increase the productivity of Lathrop because he's talking about not doubling the amount in the next year or so, but rather tripling the total productivity of the megapacks. Well, that is like another 300,000 cars. So right there alone, you're looking at within the next 18 to 24 months, a massive increase in the total available sales and profits for the company. That was just one of multiple things that went on yesterday.
Okay, and what are the others? So you thought it was good, but the stock fell. So the things you're talking about are things that completely people did not capture, right? So what about let's just address that right now. What is your expectation for the near term, the next 3 months? Because some analysts are saying there won't be a catalyst. And I'm going like, isn't there like a Robotaxi event in October? Or isn't that like 2 months away? Like, is that?
Yeah, so the catalyst, of course, the biggest catalyst of all that everybody's paying attention to, obviously, is going to be FSD 5 and or 6 and or 13 and or 14, or however they number it. But at some point between now and the end of the year, we will have feature complete. They didn't even talk about feature complete, but that's going to be a big catalyst because it may not show up in the stock market as a big catalyst, but it's going to show up on the bottom line because we'll be able to capture a lot of profits that have been just sitting there waiting for feature complete. Then, in addition, that means that every additional unit that's sold that's feature complete is going to get 100% of the profits dropping to the bottom line immediately. In addition to that, as we get feature complete, then when people drive it and test it, they're going to be more likely to upload it and pay their $100 a month and or buy it outright. So that's going to increase it. Then, in addition to that, to the extent that it's feature complete and people get to drive my car around the neighborhood and see what it can do, they're going to be more likely to go out and buy a Tesla vehicle. So this flywheel potentially is massive. And that's just the feature complete part.
Right.
Now then, if there's ever an announcement between now and the end of the year or within the next 3 months, potentially, that says, yeah, you don't have to watch the road anymore. You're okay. It's all right. Well, then, Katie bar the door, the stock goes through the roof.
Yeah, no, exactly. So a few things he said, right, which is regulatory approval for supervised FSD in China, North America, or China, Europe, and other countries. And then just that alone is a massive demand driver. That's what you're saying.
That wasn't even on my list. You could add that to the list. I was talking about.
Well, not the fact that it's going global, but just unsupervised FSD as it gets better is a demand driver. That's what you're saying, which I
and then
fully think.
Add in Europe and China, that was a little kind of a throwaway.
Yeah.
It should have the stock up today, in my opinion, but
Right. And then the other thing he said is that, he estimates that supervised or unsupervised
right.
FSD, which is, self-driving, can happen by the end of this year.
Yeah.
Now, he's made these comments before. What's your
Yeah. And,
reaction to that?
yeah, of course, he's always saying it. I would have rather had that said by another member of the staff because it carries more weight when when another one of the executives actually says it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the truth is, if you're driving it, if you have it on your car and people, I don't have 12.5 yet, but people that have 12.5 say it is a step change of difference. We know that it's always been about how much compute is there, and then how much miles get driven. So as more and more millions and millions of miles are added to the database, it's just a matter of time, really, before this thing is complete. So yeah, I mean, will it be before January 1? I don't know. Will it be March 1st? I don't really care.
Yeah.
Whatever day it happens, the stock goes to the moon. Because that also
Okay.
means Robotaxi is the next day. Elon said that.
Yeah. So, okay. So we got FSD, then we've got Robotaxi event in October. So you're very bullish about that, which you should be. I am as well. Talk energy. This is your Mr. Energy. You and I have done many shows last year about energy. And now, this year, as we expected, you finally started getting institutionalists forced to talk about it because it showed up big time. It showed up big time in the quarter that we've been predicting, and here it is. But then the comments he made at the earnings should have been even more bullish, right, about energy. What was your reaction to that?
Well, you're looking at $3 billion for the quarter. Do I have that right? $3 billion in sales for the quarter. So if it's going to triple, not double, but triple from here, or that may not even be enough. It might be more than triple because you're not maybe at 100% capacity yet in Lathrop. But somewhere around triple, now you're talking about $9+ billion a quarter. I don't know. I do math pretty well sometimes. That's $36 billion a year. And 25% of that margin would be $9 billion a year in profit. And if you divide that by 3, you're talking about $3 a share just for energy per year. And that's for 2026. Early 2026 would be my guess.
So why is it that some analysts are still not, I mean, by now you think that they would have built it in and they're not excited about it as much?
Well, believe me, I'm way less shocked that something as boring as energy is not being counted in yet. It just doesn't have nearly the sizzle of the excitement. It's really easy to do the math. It's not that hard, except for all this bookkeeping stuff that they have to do. That's a little complicated. But no, I'm way more shocked that multiple people, at least one, maybe it was 2, said today that nobody is counting a nickel for Optimus, and that just is mind blowing. I mean, what do you have to have as far as a new product introduction? What do you have to have as something that's going to completely change the future if Optimus isn't it? And now you have 68 other companies or something that are making humanoid robots, which should indicate and showing videos of their capabilities. The last one I saw was one hammering a nail. I would have rather have seen it though with his hand on the nail. Because you want to see whether it hits its finger, it hits its thumb or not. But anyway, it's pretty obvious that the humanoids are coming. And Elon restated it so clearly. No company is situated in the way that Tesla is in terms of compute, in terms of their inference chip being lightweight, low wattage. He didn't go into the details, but their inference chip with regard to their capabilities of manufacturing, their capabilities of managing all of that, nobody's comes close in terms of their capabilities. So, isn't it worth $1 a share, $2 a share?
Yeah.
Isn't there a number that you can throw into your calculation just as an option?
Right. It's a probability play, but the margin is so high. It's an option play that by the time even if you think it's 10 years away, by the time you back it into today's prices, there should be some impact to it. Let's stick to the near term. So we talked about FSD's coming. We'll move along. You got FSD that's nearer, right? And we're talking about FSD. We're talking about the Robotaxi event. what you are the person who follows macro quite well. Interest rates. I've been hearing that some people are saying 93%, some people are saying 100% odds that there's going to be at least one rate cut by September. What do you think is happening?
Yeah, I have been slowly changing my mind. I was saying there'd be no cuts this year. And then I said if there was going to be a cut, it would be in November because they wouldn't want to be seen as influencing the election. But I think that there's a chance that the economy is falling apart a little bit worse than they thought. I've been saying recession in the third quarter. I think GDP will be down in the third quarter. I think there's a chance that GDP tomorrow, when it comes out, is going to be less than expected, maybe in the 1% range rather than 1.9. So if we get a 1% or 1.2, 1.3 tomorrow on the GDP, and then if we get on Friday, we get decent numbers on the PCE, and then a week from Friday, if the job numbers come in decent, doesn't have to be great, but especially if it goes to 4.2% unemployment. If you get that combination, I think there's a real chance that we will see the cut in September. And it might, as Nicholas Gibbs likes to say, the first one might be a half point instead of a quarter point because there's a worry that the recession is going to. People have to remember these recessionary reasons. The reasons for the recession can happen really fast. And what I'm looking at, Bank of America said a year ago that the consumer would run out of money at the end of summer 2024. Everything I've seen suggests the consumer is going to run out of money at the end of summer 2024. I think the last hurrah is happening now. Now, when I say that, it's a two consumer group, over 100,000 income, under 100,000 income. People over 100,000, they're spending, they're still going to be going on their cruises and all the rest. People under 100,000 are already in trouble. They're really stretched. They don't know how they can make their next bill, their next pay their next bills. Beginning to see people being evicted from their apartments, etc. So yeah, end of summer, we're running out of consumer, and who's going to pick up the slack?
Yeah.
Who's going to spend the money?
Well, okay, so you think there's going to be a half point cut earlier
Possibly
than you initially thought, and then a second one maybe.
If 1, 2, 3, you need three in a row. GDP, not 1.9, say 1.2. You need the PCE to be okay, and then you need the jobs number to come in no less than 4.1.
So how does this translate to Tesla? Because if there is a recession, how does that impact Tesla? If, of course, rate cuts should be good for Tesla, but what's your thinking?
So we have a bigger issue that's on top of that, which is whether we're going to have a change of government. So this is not a political statement. A change of government is good for the market, and a change of government is good for the economy. Always, almost 100% of the time, a change of government is good. A continuation of the second term, more or less this will be a second term, a continuation of the same party in government typically means that you're going to have a continuation of the economy you're in. So if we get the half point cut and we continue with the same government, we might have a rough 2025. In my opinion, with regard to if we have a change in government, we could have a real good 2025. But as Elon said, I've given up caring very much what happens to the car numbers because we've got a new, if you want cars, we got a new 2.5 coming. We've got a refresh on the Model Y coming, which I think is going to sell like crazy.
Yes.
Then you've got the Roadster, maybe. That'll be funny if that actually comes out. You got the Semi coming out at the end of the year or into 2026. If you want vehicles, we got vehicles. But then on top of that, if you get Robotaxi and or Optimus, and remember, Optimus doesn't have to be sold to anybody next year. It will potentially save $500 million just in factory labor next year.
So you calculate that Optimus in Tesla's factories, if it's like 1,000, maybe 2,000, couple thousand, it's material to Tesla's.
Material, yes, very material, yeah. So you have all those things going on. We've talked, I think, 6 or 7 months ago on your show about my 2026 theory. And I've been talking about this. I looked it up since February of last year, not 2024, 2023. Yeah. The 2026 theory is that there's a 95% chance that every single thing we're talking about will be happening in 2026.
Right.
And
yep,
that's just crazy.
yeah, no, Alexander Mertz. If you carry it forward, right? When is the bot going to be in full production, being sold to customers?
Right.
He just confirmed that it's going to be 2026.
Right.
When is the new affordable cars? Right, maybe the end of first half of next year.
Right.
And so maybe it's going to be full production at scale next 2026. Cybertruck would be at scale 2026.
Yeah. Right.
Tesla Semi should be at scale 2026. You got Shanghai Megapack factory. Tom Ju and Grace Tao just confirmed, and even Elon just yesterday at the earnings call, that it's on track for launch on first quarter of this 2025. And so that will be full scale probably by 2026.
Yeah.
Lathrop would be full scale at that point as well. They might already have another one going. Robotaxi. When do you think the Robotaxi design vehicle is actually going to be produced and started to show up in the streets?
It's a very good question. Again, I'm such an optimist, but I think that it's going to be a way sooner than most conservative thinkers are thinking. I don't know what would hold it up. I'm trying to figure out. It's going to be easier to make than a regular car. It's going to be smaller.
Right.
It's probably going to be 100% unboxed. Now, maybe that's what holds it up. Maybe they'll wait until they can do 100% unboxed, and maybe that's a holdup. So conservatively, second half of next year. Optimistically, second quarter.
You're being too conservative, dude. How did that happen?
Why? You got it earlier?
Not me, Elon. So if you listen to what he actually said yesterday, right? He said Cyber Robotaxi, which is this car,
yes,
will be produced here at Giga Texas.
Yes.
Then he said, as well as Optimus, end of next year, high volume V2. So if you combine those two sentences, which he said all in one sentence, it almost sounded like Cyber Robotaxi is going to be done in 2025. First half of next year.
Oh, first half of next year. Okay.
As in, I mean, it's unlikely. Okay, it's very, very unlikely. But if you just listen to what he just said there, it made it sound like he was thinking about, we're already building these things in Giga Texas, Cyber Robotaxi and Optimus. It's all being built here.
Yeah, so I've been very, I've been a year ahead on Optimus all the way. I've been 100%. Sure. I've been 100% right from the book, from the Elon Musk mission in November of 2022. I've been 100% right, and then Scott and I early on, we started making all these predictions about when things were going to happen, and we've been 100% right. We've just been a year late. So maybe that same thing is going to happen with the Cyber Cab, but it seems as if, given the normal process of design, final design,
right.
Et cetera, it seems like it could certainly be in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jeff says, if they reveal it, which is usually Tesla, when they reveal a prototype, it's not just a prototype. This will be what they design. And so if it's design locked, if they reveal it, he said by October, November this year, which is October 10th is the date. Right. Give it about a year. And that's when it'll start being rolled out of the production line. And so that also is 2025. And so by 2026, it should be in higher volume. I remember. Yeah.
Again, it all comes down, though, to the Optimus, as Elon said. If they make 2,000 or 3,000 next year, and again, I had 30 years in manufacturing. I know a little bit about what it takes, but not what it takes to do something as complex as an Optimus. Yeah. But Scott believes, and I believe, that you can go from a few thousand next year to 100,000 without even, you're already going to go from 0 to 100,000 on Cybertruck. Why can't you go from 0 to 100,000 on Optimus?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so it might be even more than that. So 100,000 Optimus, even at 10,000 profit each, which I think is not what it's going to be. It's going to be 60,000 profit each per year.
Yeah, he said we expect to have several thousand by end of next year.
Yes.
And in 2026, ramping up production and producing robots to other outside customers, which is the V2. So there is going to need to be a V2. That's the other
Right.
concern, and not concern, but it's not like we're going to create V1 for our limited production for our own company, maybe 1,000 or two. Then we'll do V2. That's the one that they would do. By the time they launch that to customers, like you're saying, think of it like a Cybertruck. Think of it like a brand new car.
Yeah.
Um,
Are faster. I mean,
or
technically,
faster, right? Because these are smaller, less complex by that point. They've already had a year experience of prototyping it and using it. So yeah, 2026.
And the million two of orders for Cybertrucks will look like a small number. That'll look like a rounding error compared to the number of orders there will be for that robot. I'm just, as a manufacturer, I can tell you, I was a little tiny manufacturer, 100 employees, and I would have bought 10. I would have bought the instant I had availability. I would have bought 10. So
no doubt about demand and requirement, depending on what it can do. But it sounds like if it can do the job for Tesla's factories,
yeah,
who's going to now debate that it can't be doing the job for some other factory? So yeah, all of it lines up for 2026. At least 2026 seems like it's more of a surer bet, or more likely that good things will happen. Energy, of course, we didn't talk about that by 2026. Mm-hmm. And then he said yesterday, right? It's almost like an unlimited, at least 2 or 3 times power consumption required by the current situation now. Every single utility should have this because they're not being used properly. All that he talked about.
And people, again, there's another place where people just, if they haven't watched your videos and my videos from last year, it's not just about the utilities and the peaker plants and the solar and wind farms. That's what people think of. If they think of anything, they think about the solar and wind farms first, then they think of peaker plants, and then they think of large-scale utilities if they've done a little research. Well, it turns out that's the opposite. It's large-scale utilities that need them the most, then peaker plants, then solar wind. But then you talk about everything from hospitals to military to shopping centers to just go on and on and on with charging stations.
Yeah.
And it's the TAM is absolutely unbelievable.
Okay, which one are you most bullish about right now? Is it FSD? Because obviously you're the bot. I'm the bot guy too.
Short term, of course, be FSD. Long term is the bot. But of course, I'm such a big fan of the semi, a huge fan of the energy part of it. But I'm still waiting for the Model 3 to really do what I thought it would do.
That car, the upgraded Model 3? What do you mean?
The current Model 3 is the best car on the road for the money by a lot.
Right. So you were thinking it was going to be
crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know why not. The Model Y, once they make those changes, the same changes to the Model Y, it will become the best car for the money on the road. And people already know about the Model Y. So I think we'll see some extremely shocking changes once the Model Y gets those changes.
What are the other tailwinds that you're expecting? So we talked about macro, interest rates, Robotaxi event, progress in China. People are not realizing that China's recovered. I don't know if you follow the economy in China, and it looked like that things are moving back again. The last 2 weeks, the last 2 quarters has been great. Not great. But this, at least that's back up again. Progress in energy. We talked about that. Tesla Semi is now going to go into scale, and then the upcoming new vehicles.
But you skipped over China. The big news on China. This was another. If it had been all by itself, it would. Of course, it was the day before the earnings call, but the 30% increase in productive capacity.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
And 100 yards of additional space in Shanghai. That was huge news.
Yeah, that's interesting that only you and I and a few other shows have talked about this, right? Which is on China. They announced, right? Grace Tao herself was on media in China saying that they can now produce a car in Giga Shanghai 30 seconds. Every car, instead of 42 seconds, now 30 seconds. And then she explained all the different ways that they reduce 100 meters in the production line. They did vertical lifts. This is how they did it. And then they have 4 workspaces, work areas, workshops that are all connected together. They did that. And so you're calculating, same with Jeff, like if you can now do 30 seconds per, you tell me how many cars extra can you do per year, right?
We figured it was an extra 350,000 cars. That's a factory. Well, it's half of the biggest factory in the United States, the Fremont factory.
Yeah.
And it's well, not a little more than half. And but then what you're talking about is okay, can those same processes that they'd
Hmm.
learned about in Shanghai be employed in uh, Austin? Can they be employed in Berlin? Can they be
Yeah.
employed even in Fremont? And I've gotten a mixed conversation about that from Brian White and others who I've talked about it with. And so not everybody agrees on that. I'm thinking that if they're doing 30 seconds in Shanghai, Elon will be all about, because remember, his big goal for
Yeah.
manufacturing was to get the car moving through the factory at the rate of a snail. And he was half a snail and then a quarter of
Yeah.
whatever quarter of a snail. So if that's on his mind all the time, how do we get to that number? Then if he can do 30 seconds in Shanghai, he's going to be trying to figure out, along with his staff, how can we get to 30 seconds in every factory?
Yeah.
Because what does that do? That dramatically increases your total capacity, and then it reduces the amount of additional factories you have to make.
I do. I've been talking about this quite often, but I think it's worthwhile to repeat it because, again, it just seems to be it just went through people's. Nobody's talking about it as much as we should be. So this is the earnings report that they shared, right? And then there is a sentence down here at the bottom. It says here, right? Let me bring it back down. So plans for new vehicles, right, including more affordable models,
Uh-huh. Yep.
remain on track for start of production first half 2025. Okay. Then
Right.
they start talking about how, well, it's not unboxed. And so it's because it's not unboxed, it's going to be less cost reduction than we previously expected. That's fine.
Uh-huh.
But then they say this, right? This should help us fully utilize our current expected maximum capacity of close to 3 million vehicles, which is on the same factories we have now, enabling more than 50% growth over 2023 production before investing in new manufacturing lines. So Jeff was saying, so first of all, why did they say 2023? Well, no, 2024 is going to be the same number as 2023 anyways, 2 million. 50% growth of that will be 3 million.
Right.
Basically what they're saying is that the existing factories,
Right.
because they've been able to, do this kind of new affordable models built on the same production line, they can grow just using the same factories, 50% growth. And Jeff assumed, but we had a big debate, but this sentence in his mind means 2025.
Oh, I see. Okay, so I think that's a big, huge sandbag. Okay.
Why?
So they're always sandbagging on production. I mean, they always are, clearly, because they've been calling Shanghai, 900,000. I forget what it was. Yeah. So they've been saying that Shanghai was under a million for a long time. We've had lots of quarters when they've done, 300, whatever it is, or months when they've done 90,000. So what is Shanghai showing? I can't see it.
950.
Oh, they're showing 950. We know that
Yeah.
it's probably at least 1.1, and with these changes, it might be 1.4. So if
Yeah.
you take Shanghai and you start thinking about it in terms of 1.4, and
Mhm.
you've already got another 600,000 out of Fremont, that's you're already at 2. You only got a million between Austin and Berlin. I don't think so. So I would suspect, based on the size of the facility, that Austin should be worth 2, 2.5, maybe even 3 all by itself. So
Yeah, Texas. Yeah. All right. Well, so always fun to talk to you, Randy.
I got one last thought. If you got one last minute,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
the blow off today
Yeah.
always happens, normal
The
thing.
stock
Percentage a
fell
little higher,
significantly.
and it bounces 2 days later. We've also got the market way down today.
Mm-hmm.
So some people blaming Tesla and Alphabet for the downward Nasdaq, but the S&P went down, the Dow went down. So I've been talking about maybe a 10% rollback on the entire equities market needed right now, and we got 5% of that, and then we were coming back up. So maybe we are going to get the 10%, and then from there, I'm calling for the end of the year to be probably 3 to 5% above all-time highs for the market. And Tesla will probably tend to be in that same float.
Yeah. I interviewed Mark Newton, and he's with Fundstrat, which is where I can't keep coming up with these people's names. I forgot. Anyway, so he predicted that it was going to fall. Tesla stock would fall, and then it'll get to all-time highs. Tesla stock will get to all-time highs in the new year, but after November. So, yeah, that was great. Thank you for doing that. We are filming this today on a Wednesday, and then I don't know when I'll publish this. It could actually be the weekend, but thank you for sharing all that information. Appreciate you, Randy. That was fun. Again, as always, follow Randy on his YouTube channel, Randy Kirk.
It's always enjoyable to be with a fellow optimist.
Exactly. A few of us out there right now. Thanks. See you soon. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.